the only way to start your day.
Modern Egyptians live their life based on a heavy culture and a lot of science and a lot of what formed the basis for modern day technology. Even in the areas of makeup, these things that we put on our faces, a lot of that originated from the early Egyptians, whether it was art that they put on the wall or art that they put on their bodies in terms of culture. Just a little bit about where that proverb today is from. And the proverbians of this culture said this thing. And just to get to know, and we'd love to hear your interpretation of this proverb today as we get into it. And I tried to memorize it, but then I couldn't. But it goes along the lines of, just very quickly, sorry, it goes along the lines of a man and his sword and what then he's able to do or not to do. So here it goes. The mouth of a man is his sword. The mouth of a man is his sword. What do you think of that?
Experience, thought. How many of us have been killed by words?
Oh, yeah.
And how many of us have been strengthened by words? So communication is important. Words are critical. They can build and break.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go. They can build and break. Drops mic. Okay. Our Healthy Friday conversation today is around painkillers being used for hangovers, and we're looking at the damage that it causes to the liver. Now, for it to be something that we speak about, it is an issue and obviously being experienced by a number of people without people knowing the damage that it causes. So first of all, let's just be sure that you, gastroenterologist and hepatologist. Jerry said she doesn't know what a hepatologist is.
Liver doctor.
Oh, okay, well. The mouth of a man is in his sword. Okay. Oh, so the hepatologist is one who looks into issues around the liver.
Yes.
All right. Let's go into some of these issues when we talk about, drink and when we talk about a hangover, it's like the little headache that you feel after a bout of drinking. Let's start with some definitions here. What exactly is a hangover? What exactly is going on in your body after you've had alcohol or that kind of substance? What happens in the body that gives folk the feeling of, I don't even know what that is, cotton in the head? I think I've heard it described as before.
Yeah, so hangover is meaning that you're hanging over the bed or hanging over the chair or something of the sort after a bout of consumption of alcohol, okay? And it's, would say, a mental and physical discomfort or symptoms. We call it symptoms because it's what you report. And the exact cause is not known, okay? But we have theories behind the possible cause. So first of all, we need to know it is a syndrome. So syndrome is a cluster of symptoms and signs and so forth. That's number one. Number two, you have to consume alcohol, usually, okay?
You can't have a hangover from milk.
Yeah, that is not the true. Okay. That's not the one we're talking about. So, and usually it occurs as your blood levels of alcohol approach zero, and it can occur within 6 hours of that event, and it can occur over 24 hours. So just imagine you go out in the evening, have a drink, sizable, depending on your metabolism and so forth. Then 6 hours later, when your alcohol levels are dropping, all right, you begin to have this effect. Some of us may have experienced it. We know what it is. You may know what the symptoms are. The most common are either fatigue, headache, nausea, fogginess, etc. And it is associated with significant economic impact on communities. For example, in the US, hangovers, it's estimated cost about 180 million every year. In UK, if I remember right, with my dementia, it's about 2 billion. In Netherlands,
2 billion what? I'm sorry.
pounds.
Wow. Okay. Uh-huh.
So,
Please carry on.
and I can't get the statistics from somewhere. Sure. Then in Netherlands, it is also about 2 billion euros.
This is the money that folks are spending, or that governments, society is spending on curing hangovers,
So it's not curing per se; it is the effects.
or the effects of
Yeah.
hangovers. All right. So what are some of those effects?
So basically, I've already talked about there are two categories. So there's absenteeism and presenteeism. Okay. So when you have a hangover, you're more likely to be absent from your job, etc., and so forth. Even those who present themselves at the job, they are dysfunctional. Okay, their productivity drops probably by 70%, and really you don't get out. And then there's a risk. For example, you're more if you're a driver, you're more likely to have an accident. If you're handling certain equipment, dexterity, you're more likely to have an accident or make mistakes at that time. So that is the cost that they talk about.
Okay, that's interesting, and that because people are missing out on work, or even when they show up at work, they're not productive.
Yes.
How much do you have to have taken in to experience a hangover? Will you have a glass of wine at dinner or whatever and wake up in the morning with a hangover? How much do you have to have for a hangover to then be present?
So that is difficult. Of course, the more you have, the more likely you are to have it, but it's not one size fits all, because different people metabolize alcohol differently. So some are rapid metabolizers, and others are slow metabolizers. But irrespective of that, studies have shown that it's not the metabolism of the individual, but other factors which we haven't really pinned down. So, for example, I think somewhere they said one study did show that individuals with different metabolisms still had the same say prevalence of or the same, I would say prevalence, and use the word and break it up later, of hangover. So it's not very clear. The mechanisms behind hangover are still under study, okay? And it's not clear, we think, because alcohol is an interesting substance, in quotes, recreational and so forth. You've seen the elephants and the amarula.
Oh yes, that's fun stuff. Yes.
Who say they don't have hangovers? If you went and watched, even the monkeys, if you went and watched the whatever, you'll actually see some aspects of hangover there.
Yeah.
So back to the mechanisms, of course. So when you consume alcohol, most of it is absorbed probably in the stomach,
Yeah.
and the rest elsewhere. It goes to the blood system, all right? And then it's processed by the liver, it's broken down, etc., and so forth, into bad products and good products, okay? The issue with hangover is the duration that your pure alcohol stays in your system kind of determines whether you will have a hangover or not, all right? And in fact, those who are able to tolerate large amounts of alcohol are less like, so it's kind of a defense mechanism.
Okay.
Yes, it's a defense mechanism. The body is telling you, hey, don't go back to that.
Stop.
Yeah, you stop.
Yeah.
While those who are able to, who don't have hangovers, tolerate it better, so they are more likely to develop dependence on alcohol in the long term. So they end up having alcohol use disorders, where these are individuals where early in the morning they have to drink. Drink. When you tell them stop, they look the other side and say, yes, I'll stop, despite I've had an accident or my liver is being destroyed, or I have pancreatitis or inflammation of my pancreas due to alcohol, they still go back to it. Their relatives tell them that, hey, you need to stop this or reduce. They say, okay, yes, we'll stop. But the next, immediately you turn your head the other side, they're already in the bar or something of the sort. So those are two different kind of categories. So it's my theory, and I think theory of others, that if you have hangovers, you're less likely to have dependency.
And you talked about metabolism. Why is it that some people have hangovers which is worse than others?
Well, it's like saying, why do I have a bald head and you don't have a... Of course, genetics. So hangovers are more common in elderlies are more likely to have hangovers. If you've had your first binge, you're more likely to have hangovers. Ladies are more likely to have hangovers, according to the data.
I don't understand why you're looking at me.
No, I'm just okay. Ladies are more likely. Okay, and so forth. So, and then the elderly as you go. So it's not clear, but those are that is what we can say.
Okay, so in this time, so you're getting off. When you have a hangover, your body essentially is getting off of the effects of the alcohol that has been in your system. So by the time you're having a hangover, the substance has passed through the liver, like you say. Is it still, or is still on its way in?
It's in the body.
It's in the body,
and it's being cleared
for passage to the liver.
No. So what happens is that there are pathways. So you drink, you flood your bloodstream with alcohol. It goes through the vessels, partly goes through the liver. The options are that the liver may process it fast enough or slow, or over time, whichever. So what the studies have shown is that the amount of alcohol that persists before it is processed by the liver may be a proper determinant of your hangover. Okay. So, and then there's the second stage whereby the liver processes the alcohol, and what happens, it produces unwanted products. Yes. And so that alcohol in the bloodstream can go to the brain, cause issues, can go to the kidneys and adrenals, cause dehydration. Have you noticed those who run to the toilet so many times when they drink beer?
So what is it's taking out all the moisture?
It's kind of a diuretic. Yes, it helps you. Then for some people, why do people like adding sometimes ice in alcohol? Because sometimes they feel thirsty, and so it acts in the brain. So those are things that you. Then of course you have increased blood flow to the brain, so you may get a headache. At certain times, you may get hypertension. The worst scenario is if you get arrhythmias of the heart. For some people,
arrhythmia in English is.
Rhythm. So changes in the rhythm of the heart.
There you go.
If have you ever? Okay, I don't want to look at him.
Don't mind me too much. Please carry on, Doc.
Let's give an example of arrhythmia. So if so happens that we'll just use it with your permission.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So let's say he has a crush on her. So forth, and then for some time, then she walks in and she's very smart. Then he has a little bit of beats. That's almost like an arrhythmia. Yes, it might be good.
When your heart skips a beat, it's kind of like a
your heart skips a
beat. And so forth. So those are the worst of side effects. Some people with nausea end up vomiting, etc. But the key issues are fatigue, headaches, nausea, and fogginess of the brain.
Okay.
And what happens, Daktari, in the morning, because I have some friends who also partakers of this thing, who imbibe. They say the famous good kutoa lot.
Gashari said he has some friends.
Yeah, I know.
Every time in a conversation, somebody says my friends.
I don't know who those are.
So in the morning, to contain hangovers, they say kutoa lock. You add, you get some alcohol to cure the problem of hangover, and the lock kutoa lock. Do you know about kutoa lock?
Yes, right. But
How does it work using alcohol to contain hangover?
well, it doesn't work necessarily. I've just explained what goes on. So, you basically, I'm not so sure whether they are not dependent on the alcohol and then using it as a reason to continue drinking,
Yeah.
or something of the sort. Because remember, this is it's kind of a protective mechanism.
Right.
Yes. So it kind of tells you need to stay away from that. It gives you the unpleasantness.
Okay.
Yes.
So looking, you would imagine that you get a hangover after, taking, even if they're not copious, but amounts of alcohol. You have a hangover in the morning or later in the day, whatever the case may be. You flood your system with water, you take a painkiller, drink some juice, whatever the case may be. They say toast some bread or something to mop up that feeling. And then in a couple of hours, you're feeling better, right? It goes away. But are there remnants that stay in your system over time? Because you could flush the system with water and then you're going to go out on a binge again on Friday night, whatever the case may be. Wake up Saturday morning, feel like hell, but then you sort out the issue, right? You sort out how you're feeling, the physiological things that you're feeling, the headache, the nausea, whatever the case may be. Pop a couple of painkillers and you're feeling better. But is there residue in the system over time? Because remember, this is repetitive in nature. It's it's thing that you do all the time. What did you say that thing is that they do in the morning?
Kutoa lock.
Bas, that thing. So they do it. It's done over and over and over again. But what stays? What stays
So
behind?
what stays is that okay. One, I already mentioned the psychological and social implications of we already mentioned it. So you can have accidents, you can have that and so forth. But in the body per se, the body, so you push it to the edge, there are some abnormalities that go on. So what happens is that for these individuals, if you go binge drinking, you may end up with alcohol use disorder or alcohol abuse disorder, whichever you want to call it. And you can end up having your liver injured. The good thing with the liver, it's the only organ in the body that can regrow. Okay, it recovers a bit, but if you hit it too much, it won't recover. And it has 500 functions. So when it starts failing, you start getting a lot of problems. Other individuals will end up with some of them become kind of dependent, and other individuals end up with, say, pancreatitis, which can be a killer. Inflammation of your pancreas starts a whole fire in your abdomen, and which may not revert. Yes, and so those are the other and of course there are nutritional deficiencies that may occur. So there's a lot. Maybe one would have to discuss later the effects of alcohol on the body. There are quite many.
Well, we're going to do some of that. We'll come back from a break and do that, but I know Jerry has a question before we do.
Yes.
Daktari, there's these, we as Gen Zs, sometimes we do back-to-back sherehe, and, in Nairobi we call it a luta. And now you see, I think there's these common, I don't know if it's a myth, or maybe you can tell us how factual it is, that some bodies have decided to agree with a certain type of alcohol. Like some people, when they take gin and when they take whiskey, their body reaction is very different. And it gets to a point where somebody tell you, like, me, my body, if I drink gin, I'll be up till in the morning and I won't get hangover. So the type of drink, again, does it vary in terms of hangover levels, and in terms of the color wines and all that? And then again, after the different levels of hangovers, does how my diet was before alcohol explain the reason of my level of hangover? Because when people take alcohol when they're hungry, they tend to say the hangover was more serious. So how about that kind of a response or conversation?
So I think you've answered all your questions. Just put there yes. So dark alcoholic drinks are more likely to cause hangovers. Okay.
Dark colored drinks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
By
Yes.
dark you mean whiskey, wine?
Yeah, anything which is dark. So you know better than me. so you just go and profile that. You go to whatever and say which are the dark ones and so forth. And it's because maybe they have other compounds in them. And as you said, nutrition is important. Okay, remember that when you have a hangover, one of the problems with hangover is also low blood sugars. Okay, and remember, alcohol is also inflammatory agent. So you take it, it causes inflammation, and nutrition kind of reduces on that inflammation if you have certain micronutrients that are important because they counteract that inflammation. And in addition, I would say that having good nutrition improves on your gut microbiome, which is the bacteria, the good bacteria, and that tends to counteract the effects of alcohol in the system. And finally, if I've not missed the point, there's a group of individuals. Our bodies also produce alcohol.
Okay, hang on.
Our bodies.
That could explain a lot of things. But sorry, how so?
So you remember how is alcohol made?
You ferment something.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Ferment a product, leave it for
sugars
days.
are changed. You remember chemistry classes and so forth, etc. So your gut bacteria, if you have certain one, can also ferment the stuff depending on what it is. Okay, you have sugars, certain sugars, and some of them, some individuals have ability to absorb that pretty fast. So the individuals, you check up on the internet of individuals who, despite not drinking, present as alcoholics or get drunk or
And they've not taken a thing of alcohol.
Yes.
Now I understand.
So we can have do here.
But those are rare. Those are rare. Those are
Yes.
rare.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that'll be interesting to then look at. Now you can now it's giving us leeway to say, okay, now this is what might be up with this person. Okay, all right. So let's take a break at this point. We're talking this morning, and then we'll come and look at also some of the effects on the body, and maybe some things that we didn't actually relate to the long use of alcohol. But then we're also going to come in and look at painkillers, because now we're popping painkillers at an unbelievable rate. I'll give you some of those statistics, and maybe you can tell us, Doc, what actually happens in the body and the liver actually does. Dr. Christopher Opio is a gastroenterologist and a hepatologist looking into stomach, digestive, and liver issues. And we're having a conversation this morning on A Healthy Friday about hangovers and painkillers, a silent threat to your liver. It's 28 minutes to 8 o'clock. We'll be back after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Home Uninterrupted, brought to you by Safaricom. Feels good to be home. Enjoy 25% off on your home internet connection. For the bronze package, get speeds of 15 Mbps at only 2,250 shillings, down from 2,999 shillings. For the silver package, enjoy 30 Mbps for just 3,075 shillings, down from 4,100 shillings. For the gold package, enjoy 80 Mbps for 4,725 shillings, down from 6,299 shillings. For the diamond package, get ultra-fast speeds of 500 Mbps for only 9,375 shillings, down from 12,499 shillings. Visit My Safaricom app or dial star 400 hash to get connected. Offer valid for new customers from 1st to 30th of September 2025. Home Uninterrupted, brought to you by Safaricom. Feels good to be home.
Lines, traffic, hustle. Say goodbye to all that.
Welcome to Shop.Digga, Kenya's smartest online store where convenience meets unbeatable deals.
From the latest electronics, trendy fashion, kitchenware, and more, all delivered anywhere in Kenya in just 48 hours.
Catch us every Saturday from 6:30 p.m. for convenient shopping, exclusive discounts, hot deals, and smart shopping tips.
So why wait? Visit shop.digger.co.ke and start shopping the smart way.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Dr. Christopher O'Peel. Our Healthy Friday conversation is around the use of painkillers for hangovers and the silent threat to the liver. Is there a threat to the liver with a constant use of painkillers, Doctor?
Yes, there is. As I said, the liver handles most of the drugs. So the common painkillers that you have are what we call the Panadol, paracetamol. Then there's what we call the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents, which include the aspirin, the diclofenac, the brufen, the meloxicam, and etc. So for paracetamol, usually liver damage can be acute, where you take so many tablets, usually depending on your age. The older you are, the more, and if you have any other health problems, you're more likely to have liver injury. The younger you are, the more you're able to tolerate the possible liver injury. So there are those who take more than, say, 10 tablets in a day. Those ones are for whatever reason, they lose their either pain
10 tablets a day of just painkiller, not any other medication?
Yes, I may have a headache and I'm just popping them for one reason. Or I may, because you're my mama and I've had an altercation with you and I want to get back at you, I take these tablets, pre-suicidal, something of the sort, reactionary behaviors. The problem with some of these medications, you can get them over the counter. For example, paracetamol is the main cause of acute liver failure in UK and in US. So it's available. You can pick it up anywhere. So that is how it goes. But then you need to be careful, even in normal doses, if taken for more than a week. For example, you'll begin to see liver injury. So overuse of these medications, they can cause cumulative liver injury, okay, especially for paracetamol. I'm talking about paracetamol because I see there's a lot of use of paracetamol. Then you have the non-steroidals. So the non-steroidals can cause liver injury in two mechanisms. There's what we call idiosyncratics. That means we are idiotic and we do not know how it causes it, but basically when you're exposed to it, the products of the painkiller kind of mimic the surface of the liver cells, so the body reads the liver cells as foreign. Oh, wow. So when it reads it as foreign, you end up with liver injury, and it sets off kind of a fire or a cascade of fires and so forth, which you may end up in liver failure. So those are some of the mechanisms. So you may have acute, you may have progressive or chronic, or you may have idiosyncratic. And by the way, women are more likely to have drug-induced liver injuries than especially idiosyncratic than men. Women, we die of the hepatitis B, etc., and so forth.
Okay, so this is interesting. I'm just looking at some numbers here, that 80% of those who have been hospitalized are on one kind of painkiller or another, and after having been discharged from hospital, almost 100% of those who come out with diseases that need treatment for pain continue on those painkillers for at least 90 days. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
We're not even talking about the folks who are now popping the pill every time you have a hangover. So what exactly is happening in the liver? That is it residue? So if you take any kind of medication, there's the part of the medication that causes a reaction that is going to deal with the issue, whether it's the antibiotic, whether it's the painkiller, it's going to deal with the issue. Is there some, after it's done its work, of course, there's the waste or there's a byproduct from that. Are we saying that when it's done with that, whatever is left behind is what is essentially causing the damage?
You've said it.
Okay. If these people who are making this medication know that there is some harmful effect, why add that ingredient?
No, so the ingredient comes from the actual product that is meant to do good. Okay, so there's always the good, bad, and the ugly side of a medication. So that even food itself can also it has its bad side. So, and it also has its good side. So, if you look at an approved drug, what do? They give you benefits
and side effects.
Side effects or adverse. And if you read that leaflet, it will tell you X, Y, Z. So that is the reason. That is why medications need to go through a process of approval to see how safe they are and so forth. Of course, there's the other aspect of the herbal remedies, the nutraceuticals, which are not technically regulated, because you may go and see, I would not say a witch doctor or a traditional herbalist or something, but sometimes what they do, they get this paracetamol,
they crush it
and put it in the...
What about the issue of the hangover patches? There are these things which are very common in Nairobi, hangover patches, that you just patch it when you feel like you're already getting drunk, and that is meant to...
Those things, you want the black and white of it?
Yes, let's go.
It doesn't work.
What do you mean?
So what do I mean? If it works on you, something else is working. But based on evidence and studies that have been done, really the few studies that have been done, so clinical trials are where we blind people and kind of remove the likelihood of chance occurring, okay? For studies that have been done, there's no clear evidence. And you can go and check it out, okay? So if they're making that, it's all about money.
It's all for the money. Okay.
Daktari, allow me switch it up a bit on policy now that we from the conversation we can tell that so many, not only Kenyans, but so many people in the world are suffering from these hangover self-medication every other morning. Do you think Kenya can get to a situation whereby we regulate medication like it is in the US? I understand that in some countries out there, for you to access over-the-counter drugs, it has to be a real struggle, especially if you are not medicated. Like right now, away from the whole scenario, we find that some people are misusing so many different types of drugs. Maybe the diabetes drugs nowadays used for weight loss. People are misusing paracetamol every other morning. So do you think as a country we need to maybe work on our policies? And is it possible by the virtue of every time you find somebody who owns a chemist every weekend and they tell you their highest sales happen between Thursday, Friday, Saturday, from the paracetamols, the normal medication that every other person needs every other weekend? Do you think we can regulate that?
Okay, that was 20 questions in one.
Mambo ya Gen Z.
So at the end, I don't know where to start. So if my response is confused and convoluted, it's okay. So number one, even in the West, you can pick up paracetamol and painkillers from the... It's not it's regulated, but it's over the counter. Okay, all right. So yes, it would be nice to regulate everything, but if you don't have access to healthcare, just imagine what would happen. All right, and we have to agree, you don't have access to healthcare, and regulation comes with costs. So, in my opinion, the issue is access to reasonable health care. And that health care would provide you with information, education, communication, then you can bring in the rest. So if the system has its limitations and is broken and there's a limitation in access, you can't. It's like alcohol. Have they tried to ban it in the past? They tried in US.
Yes, they did.
Failed. They tried in India, failed. Even in certain Arab states, they have put whatever, but don't people continue drinking? Yes, and it makes matters worse and so forth. So I think it's difficult to, there are already systems in place. They may not be up to par, okay, for various reasons, economic reasons, blah, 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 and so forth. But I don't have an answer for you, but I think you as Gen Z and the population have to sit down and think and come up with the solutions.
You talk about the liver being the only organ that can regenerate or, grow itself. Under what circumstances can it? And you said that it comes to a point where the liver has taken such a bad hit that it can't. What are those circumstances?
So if there is good nutrition and if the insult is removed, and if you had a healthy liver before, it can regenerate. So what happens is that, for example, if I removed half of your liver, so I'll give you a good example. For liver transplant patients, at least here in Kenya, we do not have organs, an organ system for donation. So we use living organ donor. So what happens is you have a relative who matches you, and then we evaluate you whether you're eligible to donate. So then we refer you to a facility that can do the liver transplant, because there's none so far here. And they split that part of your liver, give it to the individual that needs it. And that liver grows. And the person whose liver is split, at least 70% of them regrow, or 90% will regrow.
And does it grow to the size of a normal adult liver, for example? It grows to the size.
Yes.
How does it know that, okay, this is where we stop, folks? This is the size it's supposed to be. I mean, remember, you just got a sliver.
I don't know. Yeah, but the issue is that when you look at the volume, it recurs back to its volume.
Okay. Yeah. With all the proper function.
Yes, proper functions, no insults, no proper blood supply, proper nutrition, etc. And if you don't have an underlying problem, like you continue to drink, or you have hepatitis B, or you have any other insult ongoing.
Now, Daktari, how does someone know that his liver is already under strain from alcohol, even from painkiller use?
So that is difficult, because if you have a liver that recovers on and off, okay, sorts out itself, because you have two kidneys. There's a reason for two kidneys. Unfortunately, we have only one heart.
I know.
Yes. So what will happen is that the best way of knowing that is you get screened. Okay, there are ways we can evaluate you. We can look at your liver enzymes, which may show injury. From injury, you may go to scarring of the liver. We can also look at scarring. Then there's what we call cirrhosis, when everything has gone wacko and you're in problems.
How would you look at me if I came into your clinic today, right? And let's say, but you don't know, if I give you my history, and let's say, every Friday I'm on the binge, waking up in the morning, coming at 3 a.m, and, I've had a drink to kind of like cope with things. And then I'm going to pop a couple of painkillers in the morning at about 5 o'clock before I come into studio. I've done this for 10 years. This is hypothetical, people who are now listening. And I've done this for, 6 or 7 years. And I start to feel a certain kind of way. What would you expect? Because now you're going to look at me as a hepatologist. What would you expect is going on in my liver that would then manifest physiologically for you to say, we need to check what's going on with the liver? How would I present?
So the mere fact that you've been binging and taking all of the drugs is the first inkling, first sign or symptom or whatever that would push me. And unfortunately, being an expert, sometimes we pick up on other little things and so forth. But the issue is, the question is, why would somebody present themselves? They must be feeling sick.
A certain type of way. Yeah.
So it is fatigue. You may have yellowing of eyes.
Jaundice.
Yes, the jaundice. Weight loss, fatigue, a big belly in gentlemen, you'll think they're pregnant or something of the sort. So hair loss, etc. But that is the end. It's the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, wow.
So just imagine, by the time you present, 80% of your liver may have already gone.
Would you know? Okay, so
prevention is better than cure.
Indeed. So you're not advocating for these. I mean, alcohol already, you told us how it filters through and the effects that it then has on the body. But then now, a lot of folks adding this painkiller mechanism to it. What would you advocate for? Let's say, okay, so for folks who are on the drink, right? What would you advocate for? What should you take to get off that funny, fuzzy feeling? Because like you said, they've tried to ban the thing, it's not working. Even in societies where they've banned the thing completely, the black market is thriving. Somebody's told us, well, I live in the UAE, but I had a drink last night. So, I mean, obviously this is not, we're not looking at a place where it's going to end. Are there healthier ways of dealing with this foggy status after having had a night on the binge?
So the best way is to avoid alcohol. Okay. Period. Finished. That sorts out most of your problem. The other issue is, if you can't avoid it and you're still interested in your health, I would avoid self-medication.
Okay.
Yes. So just get an evaluation if it is possible. And if you're really stuck and you can't have access to healthcare worker, then at most just a single dose of over-the-counter painkillers will do, because sometimes people don't have access. I have to be realistic and so for real world. So just and you know that sometimes if it is a hangover, you know it's going to disappear in 24 hours. So can you wait out that period? Okay. Painkillers, paracetamol is soft on the stomach, but the non-steroidals, the aspirins, are dangerous for the stomach.
Okay, there's a question here about Brufen and diclofenac. What does that do?
So
what does that do for your liver?
Those ones, so they can cause liver injury. Most notorious is diclofenac, which causes the so-called idiosyncratic. I've had patients who are presented with that and is in liver failure, and it's not one size fits all, but when you get it, it can be very nasty. They also work on the lining of the stomach. Okay, you can end up with erosions in your stomach and end up with ulcers. Some of them may bleed.
How many of these things do you need to take to get to this point? I'm wondering, and with what regularity?
So, if it is idiosyncratic, you just need.
Which means what? Sorry.
I'll repeat again and say we doctors do not know the exact cause.
Okay.
Yes, but the body reacts in a very bad way to the drug, because the drug is processed by the liver, and the body reads the liver cells as foreign.
Yeah, but how many of them do you need to take for you to get to the point where
even
the lining of your stomach is eroded?
So let's talk
or
about
your
the liver. Let's talk about the liver. So the liver, if it's idiosyncratic, you need 1 tablet, even per se.
Wow.
Okay, yes. It's like if I take Septrin and I've reacted to it, can it cause injury? Yes, it can. And it's the same mechanism. So for different individuals, if you're taking alcohol and you're taking non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents, you're more likely to damage the lining of your stomach and beginning part of your intestines. Okay, so because you remember the stomach produces acid, it's like this table. Okay, and there's something that protects the surface. This mucus and so forth.
Yeah.
So if that is affected, then you can end up damaging you. And then it's worsened if you have certain diseases. For example, if you have H. pylori, which sits in the stomach, it augments.
We all have a little bit of H. pylori. We're all walking around Nairobi
So if you take alcohol or take NSAIDs, you're more likely to. So it's kind of a cascade of it, piling on top of each other.
Now, assuming that now I have lived to the mandate of avoiding alcohol, are there lifestyle habits and probably supplements that do genuinely support liver recovery?
So you mentioned supplements. I would say healthy diet. So
Yes.
so appropriate nutrition is the best way to go. Supplementation is if your dietary intake fails to meet the needs of your body as a healthy diet. So I would not push for that. I would just suggest go with what is realistic, which is a healthy diet. And usually it's more vegetables, more tropical fruits, reasonable carbohydrates and proteins depending on what your growth rate and what your demands are. So it's not one size fits all.
Okay. Is it a myth? Folks believe that regenerate your liver, get it back into working. Is that if you can flush your system with just water, and then you can drink a lot of water and you can get things back into play. Is this true?
I think we have enough experience and between ourselves to know that we have drunk so much water. It may not have made a difference. Enough water. So too much of everything is bad and enough of everything is good, in my opinion. So it's good to be hydrated. It's bad to be dehydrated. But again, we're not going to tell you go and drink 4 liters of water. If it so happens that your kidneys cannot handle that water, you can end up with problems. And then for the elderly, for certain conditions, for example, some doctors, there's a standard where they limit the amount of fluids that individuals are taking because it kind of dilutes your certain salts in your body. And even low sodium in the body can be drastic. For example, if I'm a hypertensive, I'm taking drugs to remove some of the water, all right? And what would happen? The salts, or remove some of the salts, I'll say, not water, but salts. And I'm drinking a lot of water. What will happen? I can get brain confusion, brain edema, and so forth. And even for patients with fluid in the abdomen, sometimes we restrict the amount of water. So it's not one size, but the most important is to take enough.
Okay. So what would be that thing that we're telling folks to do? You said you're sure you can go in the morning and you can take, a couple of, painkillers to sort that out. But what would you, I'm basically asking you to make a prescription for folks with hangovers this morning, apart from taking the painkillers. Wait it out for 24 hours, or, you want to feel better in the moment. From what we are seeing, that folks are actually feeling horrible at that point, with all the things that are happening at the same time. Should you eat, not eat? Should you drink water? Should you have black coffee? Should you, eat a fruit, drink some orange juice? What should you do? So,
as I said, the people have tried these things, tested them with studies. The evidence is suboptimal. So really what I would do is you just need to recover. Wait it out, okay? If there's a really bad headache, at most, maybe one paracetamol or something of that. Try and, of course, the problem with alcohol, it also impairs your sleep. And it's about the issue of waiting it out. Yeah, you can't. That's the best and safest way. A couple of painkillers may be a basket of painkillers. So we try and avoid that as much as possible. But remember, within 24 hours, less than 24 hours, it should subside.
Okay. So what are we doing to the liver in the long term when you do have some kind of liver damage, or you do have some kind of, liver issues? What kind of treatments are you getting into to either recover or at least get back on track?
So the most important thing is that good nutrition and avoid the insult most of the time. So that works out. As long as the insult is removed, then and you have a reservoir to recover, then most of the time the liver will recover on its own. So
even when it has begun to fail?
So failure is relative. Okay. So what happens? We start with injury, severe injury. Then you have failure without recovery. Then failure beyond failure. That's when the individual, the liver fails and you pass on. So it's a process. So we stratify you or characterize you into the different stages of the liver injury, and then see what drug. So if the liver is completely failed, the only solution is usually transplant.
Okay. That would be the solution. There's a lot of stuff to take in, and I guess a lot of lifestyle habits to change or actually start to practice. Thank you so much for being here on Healthy Friday with us this morning. Dr. Christopher Opio, a gastroenterologist and hepatologist, has been sharing this insightful information with us. Be careful what you do this weekend. And